want just to take a few minutes with you, church, today to talk about being a master of comfort. That sound like a good plan? I don't know how good you are at comfort. I'm quite highly skilled in comfort, and I like to make things as comfortable as possible. I have a few different couch positions. Nice, yeah? Sorry, that's making some of you uncomfortable, sorry. And we all like to make things as comfy as possible. And when I was just a few years younger than I am now, I was able to live in the US of A for 2 years of my life. And my experience was pretty comfortable. I came back from those 2 years several stone more comfortable from eating so much. But they know how to do comfort. The home of the lazy boy chair. Everybody fans of the lazy boy chair, which is basically an armchair this big with gadgets and levers and buttons to make things as comfortable as possible. You pull a lever and the legs are out. There's buttons, dashboards that register your face. And just by the move of an eyebrow, you can have a refreshing drink brought to you. They're just amazing. And they know how to do comfort. And I had a car when I lived in America, and it was a big old station wagon. It was like the one that the Griswolds have. If you get that 80s film reference, good on you. But it was like a big old, it was just so wide. And in America, they had column shift gears. So there was no gear stick in the middle, that side. There's no gear stick in the middle. There's no handbrake in the middle. So literally, the front seat of my car was one long couch. It was literally this big. And we would go on long trips. There's one particular trip, I was driving from St. Louis to Chicago, which is like a 12-hour drive. And the freeways, the highways are just like one long line. And it's like you're in a trance for like 6 hours as you just keep going in one straight line with no curves or anything. And but it was just so comfy. It was like I was driving on a couch. And I may or may not put my feet up on the dashboard whilst driving, but there's no photographic evidence of that. But it was so comfy on my couch. I had the air conditioning, and I had some probably 90s Hillsong praise music on at the time, and I was just in the zone. And I was so comfy, and it was kind of late at night, and I was so comfy until I noticed some blue flashing lights. And I was like, cool, there's like ambient lighting in this car as well. And I noticed that they were in the rearview mirror. And then as soon as you know that, if any drivers have that feeling, as soon as you see blue lights in the mirror, immediately check what speed you're doing. So I looked down at my dashboard, and the speedometer needle wasn't there. I was like, where's that gone? And it turns out that it had disappeared, as in the needle had buried beyond where you can see. And in my comfortable couch of a car, I had somehow managed to reach 115 miles an hour on the freeway. And when I was pulled over by the flashing blue lights, they were able to tell me that he'd been trying to catch me for quite a while. But in my malaise of comfort, I hadn't quite noticed that I was, maybe a few twitches from certain death in a car crash. And comfort is amazing, but sometimes it can become our master, and we become slaves to comfort. And just in a small tweak of how we think about things or how we talk, comfort can become the prize. And like the ultimate thing, the purpose of my trip was to get safely from St. Louis to Chicago, but without realizing, comfort became the main thing and actually left me in quite a lot of danger. But we all know what it's like to kind of find ourselves inadvertently being a slave to comfort. Like comfort is the ultimate answer. When you go for that quick, convenient food, that is not that healthy, and not even that tasty when you get to eat it, but you think, I'll just go for something quick. I'll just have something easy. And actually, it's very unsatisfying when you get the ding dinner out of the microwave and you're like, I could have spent just as much time making something proper, but I've gone for the comfy, convenient option. And we've all of us can think of times when comfort has been the boss. There's loads of people in the Bible. I was thinking of the rich young ruler that came to Jesus with all the answers. And he was like, I've got everything sorted. I've obeyed all the commandments. And do you know what? I just want to make sure I'm going to be comfy in the afterlife as well. So could you just say, can I guarantee comfort in the afterlife, please? Is that all sorted? I have done everything right here. And Jesus was like, I don't think you're quite getting the point. How about this? Why don't you sell everything you have and give it to the poor? And the rich young ruler, well, it doesn't say what he said. It just says he went away sad and didn't respond and actually missed the point. Comfort had become his master, and he'd missed the point, the purpose of what Jesus was on the planet for in the first place. Even the great King David, the greatest warrior, man after God's own heart, who won battles, he wasn't comfortable wearing Saul's armor, so chose to go in what he was comfortable with, in his shepherd's outfit, ready to defeat Goliath. He knew how to pursue purpose, and yet in his later life, comfort had become his boss. It says that at the time when kings went to war, David stayed at home. And if you know that story of the mistakes that David made, that compromised his life, that compromised his family, compromised his future, and when he should have been going to war with all the other kings, he stayed behind, comfortable. But Jesus was great, because he loved comfort, he loved to feast, he loved the wedding at Cana, he loved to recline at the table with his disciples and chat about life and have a good old party, a good old meal. But he knew how to keep comfort in his place. And I want to give you just a few things about how we can keep comfort in its place. Comfort is good, but it's not the boss. Purpose is the prize. Jesus had a purpose. He had a mission. For God so loved the world that he sent his only son. Jesus was here to save all mankind, not to be comfortable. Like, the meeting is not the prize. Purpose isn't having a Sunday meeting like this. Where you're sat right now is not the prize. And you may just want to take a second to adjust your bottoms in your chairs to realize we don't have lazy boys in the auditorium. Because actually the comfort of this meeting is not our top priority. And if you're hoping to find a church that has lazy boy seats and where you can recline and have refreshments brought to you, then you're in the wrong church. Not because we don't like doing things excellently, but because comfort isn't our top priority. Purpose is our priority. And fulfilling what God has called us to do. I wanted to just read you a few verses from Matthew chapter 17, because the disciples were good and they got what Jesus' purpose was, but they lost the point a little bit. Matthew 17, it says, after 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, and the brother of James, and led them up to a high mountain by themselves. There he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. Just then there appeared before them Moses and Elijah talking with Jesus. Peter said to Jesus, "Whoa! Lord, this is good for us to be here. If you wish, let's put up 3 shelters. One for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah. Let's get a couch and make this comfortable. This is the best spiritual experience I've ever had. I feel amazing. I feel close to God. I'll have this couch. Elijah, you can sit on what's it called? The long seat with the chaise longue? Yeah, not pronunciation. But anyway, that's what Elijah's having. Moses, you look like a beanbag kind of guy. Let me just get a nice pile of hipster beanbags that you can sit on. And let's just have this moment for as long as we can. This is going to be amazing. While he was speaking, A bright cloud covered them, and a voice from the cloud said, "This is my son whom I love. With him I am well pleased. Listen to him." When the disciples heard this, they fell face down on the ground, terrified. But Jesus came and touched them. "Get up," he said. "Don't be afraid." When they looked up, they saw no one except Jesus. And as they were coming down the mountain, Jesus instructed them, "Don't tell anyone what you've seen until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead." Jesus was on a mission. There was a purpose for him being there, not just to feel good, not just to have a nice spiritual experience that makes me feel close to God, but actually the point is the salvation of all those down there that have not had an experience with God yet. And Jesus was there to save mankind from our sin. And so he got down off the mountain and said, "Look, the meeting is not the prize." And so Audacious Church, we try and make our meetings as comfortable and as awesome as possible. And we hope you have a great time and feel welcome here. But actually, we are about his business. We have a purpose. We are here not just for us in this room, but for those outside the four walls of the church. See, the other thing is that purpose isn't always convenient. If you think about Jesus' life throughout, his birth, I know he didn't have much of a say in the matter as he was born as a baby, but that wasn't a particularly convenient birth in a stable. And actually living in Nazareth as a carpenter's son wasn't necessarily the most comfy of lifestyles, but he wasn't there for comfort. He was there for purpose. And even if we think when he came to enter Jerusalem, for his grand event of dying on the cross that would save all mankind, he didn't come with trumpets. He didn't come with a huge milk floats of procession. He actually came on a donkey, a colt. It's quite specific of the colt donkey because he was actually playing his part in fulfilling the prophecy of the Old Testament. Zechariah had already declared 400 years earlier that they would come on a donkey at this particular time to play his part in purpose. And that may not have been too comfortable, but purpose isn't always necessarily convenient. And if you want comfort to be in check, if you want to be a master of comfort, then sometimes choosing the inconvenient might be the way forward. If you want to exercise and get healthy and fit, let me tell you, exercise is not always convenient. If you want a good feast, a good healthy meal, sometimes it's more work, and somehow the healthier ingredients are more expensive than the not so healthy ones. Don't understand why that is. That should be the other way around. But actually making a good healthy meal, actually when you're building something, I'm currently building my back garden, and I've been building this retaining wall and steps out of sleepers for about 15 weeks. And earlier in this week, I got to a point where I realized that one side didn't line up with the other, and I had to take it all back down and start again to adjust it by 2 inches, to build it back up again, to carry on. And it was very inconvenient to do such a thing. But I know that the prize will be worth it because I have a purpose of what I'm building towards. And you know what? Serving in our church is sometimes inconvenient. Getting here early, going to a service to serve, to then sit in a different service to be a part of is actually inconvenient sometimes, but actually it's part of our healing. It's part of our purpose. It's part of us growing the church and being there for other people. And that's the other thing about purpose. It's not just about me. Purpose is not just about me. Jesus endured death on the cross. In the Garden of Gethsemane, I just want to read real quick. When Jesus was carrying the weight of the purpose that he was to fulfill, of dying on the cross, Jesus went, this is Matthew 26, verse 36. Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane. He said to them, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." He took Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee along with him and began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me." Going a little further, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed, "My Father, if it's possible, may this cup be taken from me. Yet not as I will, but as you will." And Jesus did the ultimate. And he knew his Father's business from a very early age. You hear him going through the temple courts, being left in the temple about his Father's business. Even his parents didn't realize, Mary and Joseph didn't realize what he was called to, but he set his face towards Jerusalem. He was absolute on his purpose. When it would have been convenient to do another way, even when he was on the cross, and the taunts of other people saying, oh, I thought you were the King of the Jews. I thought you were the Son of God. How hard would it have been not to just give a little lightning bolt just to shut their mouths? Just to say, I'm about purpose, I'm about this, I'm about that. But he endured the cross for us. The most inconvenient, the most uncomfortable death that is possible. And Jesus endured that for our salvation. And yet when we connect with our purpose, it's not all about us either. It's actually about the people that God has placed us in their world. It's about the community right here in our Manchester campus, in our north and south locations, in our Chester campus. It's actually where God has placed us to be part of them accessing God's awesome rescue plan. We all have our part to play in this tapestry as we have found faith, as we have found salvation, as we have accessed God's love and incredible forgiveness that we can live life to the full. And yet part of that is fulfilling our purpose in seeing other people get to reach that point. And so the meeting's not the prize. The purpose isn't always convenient. The purpose isn't all about me. But actually, our purpose is right in front of us. And comfort actually equips us to fulfill our purpose. We're not saying sit on broken glass. And, we hope our chairs are suitably comfortable for your bottoms this morning. And if you're watching from the comfort of your own home, I hope your couch is comfy too. But comfort is not the prize. Purpose is the prize. And so as a church, we're committed to making as many opportunities as possible to help you fulfill your purpose, to help you play your part in God's awesome rescue plan. And so we're going to be putting things on every month, missional opportunities for you to come and be a part of in every campus, in every location. And I want you to think what purpose looks like for you. I've got a couple of friends that are going to come and give me a few examples. But we want purpose to look, whatever it looks like for you, to be something that you can access. So it's important that we love our world, the world that we're placed in, and also go beyond to love the world, to go out of our world, out of our four walls, to love beyond where we are. So, thank you guys. Take a seat. This is Laura and Chip, everyone. And we've got loads of missional opportunities that we're putting on for you so that you can make comfort your slave and fulfill purpose. And so the most important one for us is to be able to love the world where God has placed us. And Laura heads up our foundation as part of us doing missional opportunities in and around our campuses, Manchester and Chester and our locations, Sheffield and Cardiff, all that kind of stuff. Could you share a little bit about fulfilling our purpose right where we live?
Yeah, absolutely. And there is loads of opportunities for us to do missions where we live. And I remember the first time that we started talking about this idea of the big give. And if you've been involved with Audacious Church for any length of time, then you'll know that the big give is our way of reaching the local community through acts of kindness and generosity. And really the big give was pioneered in response to some of the statistics that we were hearing about child poverty. Even now, Salford ranks as one of the highest areas of deprivation in the UK. About a third of children living in poverty or in receipt of free school meals. And so a few of us really felt it on our heart to do something about those statistics that we were hearing about. We pulled together a few resources, and with the support of church, many years ago, we're able to feed 150 families in what was going to be our first ever Christmas big give. And it felt like a drop in the ocean at the time. But now looking back, it's amazing to see what God has done with our stepping out of the comfort zone. We're now feeding hundreds of families year on year. In fact, this time last year, we were able to provide about 40,000 meals in response to the coronavirus pandemic. And that was to families in our local community, which is fantastic. And this year, working in partnership with local primary schools to form a strategic response to the issue of holiday hunger. And so Audacious Schools is going to be involved with that, going into 4 of our local primary schools, literally impacting thousands of children's lives this summer. And that's something that anyone can be involved with by giving a week or a couple of weeks to come and join the Audacious Schools team.
Amazing. So we're committed, Audacious Church, to have local missional opportunities for you to engage your purpose and help be a part of God's awesome rescue plan in our cities and in our campuses. And we've got loads more information that we'll share about that coming up. And also, Chip, we're making missional opportunities for us to go maybe outside of our hometown, our home city, and go further afield. Tell us a little bit about the trips that we're putting on.
Yeah, absolutely. We are super excited that as a church, we don't just get to do church, but we get to go and be church. And we got to do it last year. 2020 was our year of mission. And we had all of these great, look on the back of my t-shirt, these are all the places we were going to on mission. And the one that's in February, Bedworth, UK, happened just before lockdown. And we took 14 people to Bedworth, and it was insane. Talk about purpose. I mean, it was like purpose with adventure. And I took my 12-year-old son with us, and we saw people healed on the streets, and we saw people get saved on the street. We had a salvation ninja with us. Her name was Lolita, and she went in sharing the gospel with people. So much adventure took place, not just for us sharing our faith, but for us getting to know each other as a team. And that's what's gonna happen on every single one of our missions. We really would encourage you guys, don't just think about, do I go on an audacious mission? Which audacious mission am I gonna go on with my family? That's more like it. We would love for you guys to join us. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, not too comfortable, maybe.
Yeah, a bit like you getting the sofa and us getting the stools.
Yeah, amazing. So in the September and November, we're going to do missions in the UK. And we're actually going to take a team to Sheffield in September and do a mission there, helping with the plant of our new campus. And also in November, we'll be taking a team to Cardiff as well. So maybe this morning, this afternoon, God is asking you to step out of your comfort zone and pursue some purpose in pursuing God's kingdom as the church grows and as we plant these campuses in Sheffield and Cardiff. And maybe God's asking you to be a part of those teams as we pursue purpose. And Laura, there's also opportunities. I know that you have done missional opportunities overseas. And we've got some overseas missions that we're putting on later this year as well. Tell me a little bit about your experience of going overseas and the comfort versus purpose debate as you made those choices.
Yeah, just a few years before coming to Audacious and making this church my home, I was overseas on missions for about 3 years in Asia and parts of the Middle East as well. And with an organisation that is equipped to champion the church to go to the nations. And the Bible's very clear that we're to preach the gospel to all nations. And while we can do that to an extent here in the UK, there are still hundreds and thousands of people that don't yet know the love of God. And so when the opportunity presented itself, I was already sold out. Nobody needed to convince me that it was the right thing to do. But in my head, there was another narrative that was going on, and you might be familiar with some of the thoughts that was going around in my mind. Things like, how am I going to pay for it? What are my friends and family going to think? What about my job and my career? And, maybe even there's a better time to be doing all these things. But who knows that when God puts something on your heart or calls you to do something, that is very difficult to ignore it. And so I came to the conclusion that if God wanted me on the mission field, then he would make a way for me to get there. All I needed to do was to take the next step. And so I remember my hands were shaking and my heart was pounding when I put in that first application form, and I didn't have any of the answers figured out, but I just decided that I'd take the next step and that God would show me the way after that. And it's actually laughable, some of the places that I found myself and the ways that God provided. And God, I wish I had time to tell you about the amazing things that God is doing around the world. But we've got to be a part of it. And I just encourage anybody that's thinking about going globally on missions, just take the next step.
Amazing, amazing, so good. And so, as a church, we're committed to creating missional opportunities for you overseas as well. So in October, we've got 2 overseas mission trips that we're doing. 2020 trip to Rwanda is back on. It's going to be October 21. We're taking a team out to Rwanda and working with a village and a church there, meeting local need, working with widows and orphans, and sharing the gospel in the streets of Rwanda. It'll be absolutely amazing. And towards the end of October, we're going to take a team to Athens, Greece as well, which is going to be amazing. On the back of a national church leaders conference, we're going to do a international mission, where teams from all over the world are going to come together to make one big evangelism ninja team that are going to go out into Athens, share our faith, meet need, and see us play our part in God's awesome rescue plan, and see people find faith and find Jesus. And I guess the question is, we've got loads of opportunities for you to pursue purpose. And I want us to imagine what our church would look like if everybody made comfort their slave and not their master, and actually pursued purpose as the prize, and actually was part of fulfilling God's awesome rescue plan. And whether that's doing local mission, whether that's going on mission here in the UK, whether that's going overseas, maybe fulfilling your purpose is actually a financial thing, and actually God has equipped you to sponsor Compassion Children, or whether it's to sponsor somebody else to go on a mission, whether you're committed in prayer. But let's all be a church who finds our place, who finds our way of working out our purpose. And it's so much more fulfilling than just being as comfortable as we can. Thank you very much, guys.